arrested him. Gotcha.
Wow. Alright, so I brought several things. I didn't know how much time we would have, so I thought we could. Honestly, I need 6 minutes, and it doesn't have to all. It may not all be from this. Like I may use part of like the videos that Brittany's used, and use some of that. So I'm not sure, but if we can just like this, and we've done this every year. I don't know why we haven't done it this year. But I have some good. So this is the released item booklet from last year's test. For Jacob especially. These are what we did for the released items. On the back are the non-released items, so it's hard to tell. But for instance, it'll also, Jacob, if you hadn't seen these, like it'll tell you what number it is in the booklet, and then you can look at that number, and at the back of your released item booklet, it'll tell you what strand and what standard is covered there. So what we've done in the past, we kind of looked at them and looked at the standards, and then figured out what could we have done differently, or how could we have presented that differently. And I have, like, looking at this, I saw some good things, and I'll mention that. Okay, this hive data, if you haven't seen it, is, I pulled the last 4 years, because that's kind of when we've been meeting, it's kind of been more, the last 4 years we kind of had a little bit better plan, and it shouldn't look like a star, it should look like a spider web filled in, but like for each of the 4 standards, this is our multiple choice and our open response. So there's 8 points on it. Like the multiple choice is here, and then the open response, and then you'll see this definitely a star pattern. What is it?
Hey, on here on the star, since this isn't, it's hard to tell on the Cabot School District versus Arkansas. Is ours the darker, or is ours the lighter?
Ours is the darker.
Okay, that's what I figured.
Ours is better on every single one than the state.
Yes.
It's hard. The 2009 one didn't print out differently, but actually the 2012 one, sorry, didn't print out differently, but we still beat in all the areas. 2013 is not on the website, and I don't know why. It's not there to compare it. So I don't know why. But here's what I noticed. On the 2012, if you look, they released 2 open responses, and our average was a 5.0 and a 4.5 on the open responses. And I looked back through the last 4 years, and I never saw a 5 or a 4.5 on any of our open responses, like the average. Right?
Is that out of 8?
Out of 8,
it's
yeah, because you'll get 1 kid gets a 4. I mean, there's 2 graders, and they add them together. I don't know. And when I looked at the 2 problems, like for me, if you look at the open responses they released, one is the orthographic stuff, and I really think that track star helps them. I mean, I really do.
It really does, because that visualization is so hard for so many of those kids.
Yeah, and being able to see the 3D of it.
Because we can do it all we want to on worksheets and things like that, but until they can
manipulate and actually.
Well, and another thing that we did this at the beginning of the year this year, and last year, where we took some of those cubed blocks and we hot glued them together so that they would form these, and then not only are they getting the 3D, but they can twist them around in their hands. It's like the virtual thing, but.
So I think we really hit that hard last year. So that came back, and then the Venn diagrams, of course.
Yes.
And I don't know, I'm a little concerned because that's not in our curriculum this year, but we're still testing that. So we've got to find some way to, I mean, if that's an open response, we got to realize that.
I think they've had it before, so if we were just to touch on it real quickly, they can do it. Okay. So I'm not going to be too worried about
that. That might be one of the things that we do, like with the orthographic and that stuff right before the test.
But the Venn diagram, most of the time, they go, I've already seen it.
Right.
Okay, I've done something like that, or, so I don't.
Which I feel like with biology now doing intercourse testing, that they're having a lot more of that in there as well, so they're hitting it across the board.
It's hard with us. I know our stuff is out of order this year. I'm trying to figure out where we are in relationship, like our timeline.
No.
It's harder to gauge because
I was talking to him today, and I said, we got clear Pythagorean theorem, trig, and circles.
Yes.
And when you look at March, it's so, and area and volume, we haven't done that either.
March, we've got spring break.
And you mentioned, you lined it out for the rest of, till the EOC.
Yeah, well, I skipped chapter 6, which is parallelograms, because I wanted to keep all the triangles together. So I skipped that one. I'm going back to that one starting next week, and that'll give me until spring break to cover that because it's 9 sections, and then afterwards maybe try to squeeze in area and surface area for about a week and a half before I take maybe 5 days to review for it. Just kind of planning out and then throwing circles in there at some point. I don't know what.
Yeah,
If it's just going to be areas of circles, or if they're going to have secants and.
Well, I think secants we don't usually, but equations.
Equation.
The equation of the circle, I remember
Radius,
the year
circumference,
before, isn't that
and
where
area.
we had the lowest, was the equation of a circle? Just because they didn't know the equation of a circle.
And that's
They
not
couldn't
on the
remember.
reference
Yeah, that's
sheet,
like the
so
only
that's
formula
where
that's on the
they
reference
say-
sheet.
So you might wanna cover that really well.
Is that kind of where you're at too? I mean.
Yeah, I'm about the same place you are with the trig, the special rights and the trig and Pythagorean theorem.
Yes.
And then we've already done transformations, so circles and then surface area volume, that stuff.
Yeah.
And
It's
then
a lot.
the 3D figures
Oh, yes.
and big diagrams.
And then
Well, I feel
I
like
think
there's
we're about the
something
same.
else that we always throw in too.
That they usually have one question about Euclidean and non-Euclidean, like what's the difference between.
But I
And
usually
that's
call
just
that in a
something
day.
you could even do that as like a warm up, really, for a couple of days, just a
Platonic
question.
solids.
Platonic solids, the main
Cross-section.
section.
That's
and cross section.
That's
Okay,
it.
there's a few things we throw. Maybe we should write this down.
But I'm not too worried about the cross sections if you could show it to them somehow visually, because they usually get what it means, you know. So.
You can make
Jello. And
Jacob's like
I got shapes and stuff.
Play-Doh.
I usually do the Play-Doh.
now when we did the food,
Got a
thing,
recipe
that was
for
a lot of
homemade
fun.
Play-Doh.
You make it all, serve it.
It's got glitter and peppermint oil in it. It's so fun.
All right. No.
No glitter.
Okay, it's
I
We
just
can
don't-
make yours glitter.
You're
free.
cutting it like a knife. Think of it as a knife.
All right. Okay. So, so do we need to look at which ones we had the low percentages on then?
That's what I was thinking.
So I saw one that was 50, 55.
Like what's your geometry?
53.6.
Number 23.
Number 8.
Number 20. You said,
Yeah, number
number
8
23.
looks like number 13.
Uh-huh.
Number, yes, so 23. Those were the ones that were in the 50.
8, 13, and 23.
All right, let's look at it.
Oh, yes. Parallel angles.
See, and that's Common Core.
Yeah.
That is Common Core.
Huge, huge.
23 is which regular polygon will tessellate.
No, that's the big ear test.
Oh, is that the new year? Oh, okay.
I'm sorry.
I was like,
I was
what?
looking at the same one.
Okay.
Oh, I was looking at the same one.
I was like,
Sorry.
please.
Oh, that's me. We were in the same one. Okay. Spring, here we go.
Okay,
Ready.
that's
Number 8.
Okay, slopes.
Equation of a perpendicular bisector.
okay. Is that not one that last year
And
we?
it's a horizontal line.
They get the opposite and the reciprocal. What they usually miss is the undefined and the zero.
But because
That's
the
the
x-axis is this way.
But this
so
is
they
the
want-
easiest.
I
It's
know.
not. It's a horizontal
yeah.
and a vertical line.
But they forget that.
But I bet their wrong answer was B though. I bet they got it, but they're because that's what they always think is horizontal line is x equals. That's what their big. So I bet
Or
the
they might have saw all those 4s and just jumped to a 4.
True.
tricky.
And what's the other one?
One of 23 and 18.
13 also.
13.
13.
Cylindrical glass rod.
A proportion?
Yep, that is.
No.
No, because the
Surface
diameter is
area.
unchanged.
Right.
Yeah.
So find
Oh,
the
okay.
surface area
Oh,
of
really,
a
that's
cylinder.
changed.
Maybe it's because
Wait a minute. It is it did get changed, didn't it? The glass door starts with solid and glass door.
The diameter didn't change.
The
yeah,
diameter
you're
didn't
just
change, but the height changed.
Right.
The length changed.
So
there
you
is a
find
change.
two
So you
different
s-
surface areas and subtract them.
Yep.
Right.
So it's not a.
which the changing.
the change in
I bet they
solids.
found the new one, and that I bet the new one is one of the answers. Do you think that's probably what they did?
Because they didn't read the
Just
question.
not reading the problem all the way through,
Mhm.
which is kind of what we just did.
You can tell that I'm teaching proportions right now.
Hey.
I see 4 numbers, proportion.
Yeah, that's because I was thinking, because 3 numbers, find the 4th. Okay.
Are you guys finished chapter 7?
Okay,
Testing on Tuesday.
23 is, which is the shape that will tessellate, which regular polygon will tessellate. I don't know.
That's another thing we need to
We
squeeze
haven't
in.
done tessellation.
But when we talk about tessellation, like I know, I tell him every day, hexagon always tessellate, you know, I keep behind, yeah.
All of them except.
Maybe, because I feel like, okay, you know what, this is the question always goes. So we just spend a week going, okay, hexagon tessellates, pentagon doesn't tessellate, hexagon tessellate. We just say that all week long, and then we're
But then
covering
the
on
one
this
that's going to be
question.
the choice that isn't is going to be a circle.
It's not a polygon, so it won't be.
Well, then they'll
legit.
just say which figure. Or
I love that question. Which one's a polygon? Is that circle or polygon?
Okay, another one that's pretty low
Okay.
is number 20.
Right.
Is that 20?
Yeah, and 29 also is the 62%.
Oh, there's your circle again. Intercepted art.
So 20.
It's really just Pythagorean theorem.
That's a Pythagorean theorem question, knowing that that's a 90-degree angle.
Yeah. So, yeah. So that's half inscribed angle, half Pythagorean theorem.
And
29.
next class.
There you go. That's like that number 13, isn't it?
Yeah, it's just kind of the opposite.
Yeah.
You have to
Maybe,
solve.
I mean, I don't, how much time did we spend on surface area and volume
I
of
felt
cylinder?
I thought we were pretty thorough with
I mean,
it,
I
but
might not have spent that much time on an oblique cone, but I know a cylinder gets.
Right.
Yeah.
I think like both of these are wordy. Like especially the other one, you know, it's like we all kind of read through it fast. And this is one where
But at least this one gives a picture, which I guess that's why it's a higher percentage got it right, but.
Yeah. I think what they might have struggled on is where, they might know the formula, but where do they insert the
yeah,
number?
anytime they
Find
have
out
to
how
work a
solve
formula
for.
backwards, they
That throws them off.
And it doesn't give them the radius, so they would have to
Find the-
figure out the radius and then use that radius
Correct.
to come,
to find the
This is
other
a
height.
step.
So it's doing it backwards twice.
right?
Correct. So they have to find the radius for this one and then use it to find this one, to find the height.
To find the height, use that radius to find
Yes.
the
I'm gonna take the EOC test.
I think we should take
Maybe I
that.
should get a chicken.
Especially after this year,
Okay.
right?
Yeah.
And do we live at 29, is that 29? Okay, that's about it, isn't it?
That's good. Brittany's got a, here, leave me all that stuff in case we have to meet again. I'll pull it all back out and we'll talk about pacing and stuff like that sometime.
Hey, this is great. I like this. See
Unless you
that
wanna
the
take
open
it with
response
you.
wasn't
Do
very
you need to
good.
take it with you?
I wonder if we should use the release item for the review right before the end course, so.
Do they have
What do you-
that don't have?
What do you think?
Especially the low ones, like,
Uh-huh,
put them up on the screen,
know what?
like,
then talk about
Do
it.
we have any that don't have the markings on the,
you know.
You can write it up.
No, yeah, we usually, like when we're using them,
so much work?
well, I have some, like just,
Well, all those that I
Yeah.
sent to you.
yeah, and we all,
Yeah, I'm using,
It's up to 2010 at least, and I mean, that's from, we can go 2000, I guess I should do this, you want, yeah. From 2003 to 2010, and I would go through, and it did take a while, but I put like white, a lot of them I just put white, squares over the top of the answer.
but I mean, we probably all have, I mean, or unless you're just wanting these, and so we probably all have copies from previous years that you could just take, that have already been whited out, and you just take a copy of it.
Mhm.
I was just gonna have them do, they have those standardized test prep, like the little five question things in their, not the companions, but the practice workbooks.
Practice workbooks,
I was just gonna have them tear
I
those
just don't know
out,
how
staple them,
close
and-
they are to our
That's the
EOC,
thing.
that's the thing. So, I mean, since at this point we've got 10 years of data, I'm bad, I know what they're testing, I mean, rarely my surprise.
Yeah, I mean,
And
it's
so
just like
it
us saying
gets to
that,
be-
that tessellation question. It's almost always either which shape will tessellate the plane, which
Right.
shape will not. I mean,
Every single year.
there's always one platonic solid question on there.
And I mean, after you've seen it over and over, you just kind of get to where you know which next year we're in trouble.
I mean, and like, let's,
Well, and I saw some stuff, and I'm turning that thing off, but I mean, like I saw, like the people who do Common Core saying that we've really made a mistake in how we rolled it out. Because, and I agree, because like we can't do all this in 1 year. We can't
why
make
couldn't they have
this
phased
jump.
it in? Like, doesn't that make the most sense? Because yeah, when in a few years, when all those kids that have been through this, that's gonna be
Right.
fine. But
Right, and like with proofs, I've done more proofs this year than I've ever done. But honestly,